I would like to give you a little bit of information about me so you have a better understanding of my background. In 1979, I began working for the city of Cleveland, EMS, as an EMT. In 1979, I enrolled in Cuyahoga Community College and completed their paramedic program. All in all, I was involved with pre-hospital care from 1979 until 2002 or 2003. The services I worked for presented me and our service with many awards. So let me tell you about what happened to me and my partner on a foggy night on the west side of the city. I was working with a female partner that night when we received a call via radio that there was a male attempting to jump off of a bridge on West 106th and Western. That bridge crosses the I-90 freeway. We responded with lights and sirens, but due to the fog being so thick, we had to respond slower than the posted speed limit. And once we arrived on scene, it took some time for us to locate the man. But once we did, he looked at us and ran toward the bridge. I was driving and slammed on the brakes, throwing the vehicle into park. We both exited and began chasing him. Just when I got close to him, he climbed a chain-link fence, which is meant to prevent people from falling off of the bridge. Suddenly, he dove off of the bridge head first, and somehow I managed to grab the lower part of one of his pants legs and pulled on him. Somehow the fence snagged his pants, and now he was hanging upside down over the freeway. He started growling at my partner and I. I don't even know how he did this next feat, but this man thing, while upside down, came flying over the fence on top of me, and then the fight started. I was hitting him with punches and elbow strikes. My partner repeatedly struck him with her metal flashlight. So you understand, at the time those flashlights would knock a violent dog out cold. So while we were fighting for our lives and trying to call for backup, a security guard appeared and joined in the fight. And after some time, we were finally able to secure this guy thing. You will understand why I keep adding thing shortly. Once we put him on our cot in the back of the ambulance, I began assessing him for injuries, mental health issues, or possible drug use. I started at the head, checking to see how bad we might have injured him. There was nothing. I checked his eyes and began cursing, what the fuck? Where his lenses and pupils should have been, there were just black holes. And I did a rapid assessment and we transported him to the hospital. I can't help but think, even after all this time, that he let us win. He wanted to shock us into seeing whatever he or it might have been. And I'll tell you, it did shock the hell right out of me.
It was the middle of summer. I was hanging out with a group of people that were fun, social, and paranormally curious. Being Filipino, I can say we pretty much all enjoy sharing scary stories, things that can only be explained by a serious belief in the supernatural, as most of us grow up hearing such things from friends and family. So naturally, when my friends and I hung out, that was a lot of what we talked about. We shared ghost stories, whether they were ones passed down to us, or personal experiences that we each had. I want to share with you one of my experiences. I know it's not clearly a ghost encounter or anything like that, but it's definitely outside of the norm. One summer night, my friends and I decided we wanted to scare ourselves and take a drive out to Carbon Canyon. Hopefully we'd get lucky by seeing the white woman who was said to haunt the curvy road that led up to it. It was around 11:30 at night when we finally made it to the peak, where we slowed down. There was an abandoned cabin, which we inspected from our cars. To our surprise, there was a truck and a car parked there. What we didn't see immediately were the people who didn't want us lurking around on their property. I was in the back seat, so I didn't really hear or see what was going on. Suddenly Lawrence, the guy driving our car, shouted, "Oh crap," and started speeding off. We were the second of two cars in our party, and we sped down the hill. I still had no clue what was happening, so I looked back and saw that the folks from the cabin had gotten into the truck and were now chasing us. We got to the bottom of the winding road and ran at least 4 stop signs before we got to the main highway. They were still chasing us. We continued driving and finally got to the freeway. By that time, Lawrence had pulled our car ahead of the other one my friends were in, and the people chasing us were directly behind the other car in our party. When I looked back again, the passenger in the truck had something sticking out his window, and before I realized what it was, I saw a spark fly from the back part of our friend's car behind us. "Oh my God," I thought out loud. "They're shooting at them." Upon my report, Lawrence floored it and we hit about 120 miles per hour. Luckily, my friend's other car made it far enough as well, it being a souped-up Toyota. The truck had no chance. We eventually left them in the dust, and 5 cities later, we were able to exit and gather ourselves at a karaoke bar where we could talk about what the hell just happened to us. After a while, it came out that apparently one of my friends in the car behind us was the one who did the shooting when they saw the guy coming out of the window with what looked like a gun. I still think about how crazy it was that we ran every single stop sign and light, and no cops were around. On a Saturday night in the middle of summer. Were there supposed to be people living there, I wonder? What prompted them to chase after us like that? Had they been drinking, or maybe on something stronger? Whatever the deal was, we definitely did not sign up to get shot at. Maybe it was the fact that the canyon had so many negative things happen there, that the residual energy caused those people to feel animosity toward anyone approaching them. Either way, that was our last time at Carbon Canyon. And no, we didn't see any ghosts.
It's been 13 years. I've lived with this every day. I've tried to let it go. And every time I feel like I'm moving forward, a sight, a smell, there is always something to remind me it's still there. Nothing's helped. Self-medication, shrinks, counselors. The system is bullshit. I, like so many others, are living proof of that. You see, I had an encounter with a monster, the most evil and vile. I've never experienced true evil until this, and let me assure you, this is like nothing you'll ever see on a TV screen. I remember the catalyst that started this, a text message, and I was trying to keep it together in class, being hungover as well. Initially, I ignored my phone when it dinged, and since I wasn't paying attention, I flipped my phone open. Are you still down? Am I still down? Down for what? I had no idea what my foster sister was talking about, and that's when my phone dinged again. Road trip. Road trip? She couldn't be serious, or maybe she could be. One of the things you should know about my foster sister, Mia, she was prone to making bad decisions. Now, I'm no saint, mind you. I wouldn't have been in this situation, or with this family, for that matter, if I did make good ones. The difference between us, I was in pain with a completely clouded judgment. She, on the other hand, would pursue them at breakneck speed like they were the right thing to do. All day long I thought about it. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And then I remembered the reason I was hungover. Myself, Mia, and a mutual friend, Ashley, had been drinking the night before. Along for the ride was Mia's new man friend, Mike. It was more like we were along for the ride, considering he didn't drink or smoke anything. The three of us were drinking and laughing, having a good time. Mia really wanted to go to Arizona, to live with her father. Apparently I said I was down and so did Ashley, and I really didn't remember. I was really drunk. I didn't know Mike that well. He seemed nice, awkwardly quiet, but overall he didn't seem like a bad apple. And adding to that, he was a gorgeous man, and I couldn't really blame Mia for keeping him around. She saw him as a good-looking man who kept her stoned and treated her nice. The day finally ended, and I was ruined. All I wanted was my bed, and when I got home, Mike was there, and Mia was packing a bag. She was in the understanding that meaningless plans made during a drunken stupor were actual plans. Remember that part I said about making bad decisions? Yeah, I went and I packed a bag. Mia and I jumped in the car with Mike, and off we went. Well, the plan was simple. Mike was going to do the bulk of the driving and bring us to Arizona. After that, he was going to make his way to Florida. Well, now before you pass judgment, I think you need to understand a few things. I was absolutely at my end, and in turn I was not thinking clearly. My father recently passed away, and my mother had shut down and left me alone to deal with all of this. One mistake led to another, and another. I was taken and placed into a group home, after group home. That is a life full of perverts and empty promises. It was in one of these group homes that I met Mia, eventually leading me to be adopted by her family. It was yet another world I was thrust into. When you come from nothing, and then you have material wealth, in a sense, it can destabilize you. All I wanted was my mother and my sister, and I couldn't have them. I was to stay away from them. I was told it would be bad for any possible recovery. Yes, I worked and went to school. I seemed all right, but I wasn't. It wasn't peaches and cream at my foster mother's. The hammer always seemed to fall harder on me, and I was more behaved than both of her psycho daughters. I was told I had potential, or maybe it was the big fat monthly check from the state she was receiving. Because of me, I didn't find out about that one until later. Needless to say, there were some reasons I had in making the choices I made. And I'm not saying they were good reasons. Now think whatever you want, understand or not. Just remember you were not in my head or my shoes. I was starting to enjoy the ride. There was a measure of serenity in the sound of the road, and Mike really never said much at first. Around Boston, he got a little uppity, and I didn't really make much of that, because as I said, I was wrapped up in my own head. Things changed dramatically once we hit New York. He became bossy and demanding. That's when Mike went away and Rain came out. I don't mean Rain as in R-A-I-N. I mean Rain as in Reign of the King, because he thought he was one. He took our phones, throwing them out the window, and I didn't know what to think. I was literally frozen. We were thrust into this hell, his version of hell. We were given different names, made to wear dark sunglasses, and told not to make eye contact with anyone, told not to speak with anyone. We were his sheep. When we stopped at gas stations or anywhere for that matter, we complied. He started to take a dislike to me. You see, Mia was all about him, all over him. She seemed like she couldn't get enough of him. Maybe this was her way to survive an impossible situation, her coping mechanism. At the time, I really couldn't tell. I was whatever about it, and I'd begun to dissociate myself from this. It was the only way I could survive. Yes, I was terrified. Not knowing what was going to happen from moment to moment was the worst. I imagine you're probably asking why I didn't run right then and there. Why I didn't make a scene so the police could be alerted to what was happening. There are two reasons for that as well. One, people don't give a shit. Truly they don't. Ask yourself, how many times you've been out and about in the world and seen someone in need and not helped? Because they have acted odd or downright insane, but they still needed help. Think how badly you wanted to get away and not get involved. 2, Mike put a serious Charlie Manson mindfuck on us. Satan had given him all the power and the mission to subvert all of the sheep of the world, and we were his sheep to help him accomplish this mission. No one cared about us. No one wanted us. We were the dirt below his feet, and he was the only one who cared about us, the only one who loved us. Yeah, there was that devil-worshipping bullshit. There was almost no sleeping, very little eating if at all, making us drive him, listening to this absolutely insane music, cranked up as high as it would go. He had control. Then there was the Flying J truck stops. He had needs and wants, and he was the king after all. Apparently this made him think that he had the right to take whatever he wanted. The showers that included all 3 of us. I've never felt so dirty after getting out of a shower. Eventually, the money ran out, south of Virginia. That fucker made me pawn my father's rings, the only thing I had from him, and I had to give it up and not cry, not be hurt, although I was still grieving. Above all, this is the one thing that still hurts. I never got them back, and it's something I will never get over. Mike started to scope out a bank. To this day, I'm still not sure how he pulled this thing off. As far as I know, he only had a knife. He may have had a gun. He kept everything in the trunk. We did what we were told to do, and he went into the bank. The moments ticked by so slowly, I wanted to run. I was behind the wheel. I know I was scared, but to this day, I can't understand why I just waited. Next thing I know, it was like the car exploded. He literally threw himself into the back seat, yelling to move my fucking ass. Go, go, go. I did. I chomped down on the gas pedal, not knowing what I was doing or where I was going. He shouted orders from the back seat, lefts, rights, whether I should run a stoplight or a stop sign. All I could hear was his yelling and my own heartbeat. My tears were making it hard to see, and my anxiety was making it hard to breathe. Then I took a shot to the side of the face. He was actually slapping me in the face with stacks of money over and over, laughing. Of course, being berated at the same time was nice too. You'd better not get us caught. Watch out for the cops. Slow down. Speed up. Over and over, he told Mia to jump into the back seat, to count and roll the money after things had settled down a bit. This part is a bit sketchy, as I'm not 100% sure as to what happened, as I can only go on what I observed, not so much witnessed. We stopped at a hair salon that looked like it was built into a small house. He went into the place, and after a few minutes, waved at us to come in. I don't know why. I can't really guess at what his intentions might have been. To me, the hairdresser seemed obviously gay by the way he talked and was dressed. We were told to pick out any nail polish we wanted, and escorted to a bathroom in the back of the salon, told to lock the door and not to open it until Mike came to get us. We were in there for a while, and eventually he did knock, and we walked out of the small restroom. As I locked eyes with the man as we walked out of his hair salon, I read the shame and revulsion on his face, in his eyes, a look of pity for us, for being connected to this monster. Did he call the police? No. Whatever Mike did, or whatever happened, must have been enough to keep him quiet. As time went on, and we continued south, Mike became more and more paranoid. Everyone was a cop. Everyone knew who he was and what he'd done. Everyone was looking for him. As well, he became very, very distrustful of me. I didn't give a shit about this game. I was belligerent and wanted out. And at this point, I wasn't scared to die. Because in my mind, I would rather be free of this, and he wanted me gone. This was the only common point we had. I do think this may have been the reasoning for what happened next, or almost happened. Passing through Georgia, we stopped at a park. He had gone off and talked to this group of men, and they kept looking over at us. And after a while, he came back to the car, and we went off. He was actually going to sell us to these guys. He told us this later. He never told us why he didn't. Maybe the price wasn't right. That part is still a mystery. Why he needed to go to Florida, or what was here, I can't say. He said he had friends there. Most of this trip was a blur. I remember a lot, but as well there is more that I don't. Maybe this is my mind's way of protecting me from this situation. There are so many little things that took place within this nightmare, and putting this all down into a story like this is difficult. Then again, there is a lot I just don't want to say. Some things are just better left unsaid. South Beach is when things came to a head. He had gotten drinks for all of us. I don't know how much he had to drink, or if at all. Mia, on the other hand, was tipsy. He wanted me to stab this homeless man sleeping on the beach. At least I thought he was, by the way he was dressed, and having a bunch of stuff around him. I was standing over this guy, holding a knife in the air. Mike standing next to me, silently urging me to do it. At that moment, the man woke up, looking up at us. Mike turned and moved me out of the way. I broke. I threw the knife in the sand. I told him I didn't care. I won't do it. I couldn't do it. I don't fucking care. Kill me. I am so tired of this. He picked up the knife and started walking at me. I thought, this is it. It's finally over. Mia jumped all over him, distracting him. We went back to the car, and I slid into the back seat. I can't describe to you exactly how I felt, hearing two obviously mentally unstable people talking about my fate in the front seat. Whether I should live or die. She knows too much. I have to kill her. No, she won't say anything. Let's just drop her off somewhere. There are no words for that. Ultimately, Mia saved my life, convincing him to just let me go. I could never truly express how I felt when I saw them drive away. It was such a relief. At the same time, I was full of rage. Mia said we were never going to leave each other. And there she leaves me on the side of the road, in the urban wilderness that was Fort Lauderdale. After everything we had suffered through, it was daunting to say the least. In front of me was a gas station that had a Dunkin' Donuts attached to it. Behind me was a Marriott hotel. I went for the hotel. I pleaded with them to use the phone, to call the police for me. I was a runaway from Maine. My family was looking for me, and I had just escaped from a psychopath. All they did was shoot me down and tell me to leave. Yet another case of helpful people. Then again, I can't really say I blamed them, looking back. I was a hot mess, completely and utterly disheveled. I imagine I totally looked like a junkie to them. I walked over to the gas station, and there was a payphone, and as I picked up the receiver, I couldn't remember anything. My mom's number, my foster mom's number, my sister's number, none of it. There was really only one thing I could do. I walked into the packed gas station and started screaming my head off. Still, I feel bad for the lady behind the counter. It really freaked her out. But she did what I needed her to do. She called the police. I walked into the Dunkin' Donuts right next door and sat down and waited. All I could do was think about the past few weeks, all that had happened, consumed by hunger and exhaustion. And as the police pulled up, I thought they were going to help me, be my saviors. I thought they were going to help me get home. I was so wrong. I was involved in petty crimes, bank robbery, and sold into prostitution and almost committed murder. Throughout this entire journey, I may not have been a member in his crimes, but I was there, and in their way of thinking, that's all it took to be a criminal. They started asking questions, and I answered them. I told them the whole story, except for the bank robbery. I was terrified they were going to send me up the river for that one. They contacted my foster mother, told her the story. She only thought of the fact that her daughter and I stole her car. At first, she didn't seem to care we were captives, or know, for that matter. That, of course, didn't stop her from saying she didn't want me back. The state could have me. When the police told me that, it broke my heart, since no one wanted me, and I was 17 and would otherwise be on the streets. They took me to jail. And they also told me that this would give them time to contact DHS and get me home and get more details on the story. To them, I was just a criminal, a sad case of youth gone wrong. They didn't care about me or what I'd just gone through. They just made their comments and had a good laugh at my expense. I spent a week in that jail, and then I received word my caseworker was going to fly me home. To rub a little salt in the wound, I was walked through the airport with a guard on each side, while in cuffs and shackles, because I was such a dangerous criminal. It seems public humiliation was a parting gift from the justice system in this state. The sight of Portland, Maine was the best sight I could have ever asked for. While in jail, I talked to my foster mother and told her what had happened. She, to a point, understood. My foster father and younger foster sister met me at the airport. The awkward thing about this was how they acted like everything was hunky-dory on the ride home, like it had never happened. I do understand. In their way of thinking, they wanted to make me feel as comfortable and safe as possible. I can't fault them for that. It was still the best car ride I had had in a month. A short time later, Mia finally escaped Mike and was brought home. Mike continued north. This all ended when he murdered 3 men in an army barracks store. A day later, he was arrested the next town over. My heart goes out to the family of the lives he destroyed. There are a lot of questions that I can't answer, a lot that I still don't understand to this day. So many things I would like to do different, I'm not even sure that it's a good idea putting this story out to the masses, considering there are a lot of people still hurting by this to this day. I almost feel like I don't deserve to have a good life, that I don't deserve to recover sometimes, because so many will never be the same because of this. I do have a loving family that cares for me and supports me, although I can really be a handful sometimes. I do know I will live with this for the rest of my life, and it's never really going to go away. But maybe by sharing this, I can come to some sort of peace with it in some way. But I can say I survived a multi-state nightmare with a monster.